Whenever you're ready.
Right.
Yeah? Okay. All right, could you introduce yourself, including where you're from, and describe briefly your area of research and what's led you there?
Okay. I'm Lisa Merriweather. I'm an associate professor at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And I've got all the other questions already. What else?
Your area of research and what's led you there?
My area of research focuses on a broad level on anti-Black racism and the ways in which really looking at the interstices of adult education, pedagogy and practices with anti-Black racism. And I do that typically through lenses of Africana philosophy, critical race theory, qualitative research, and historical discourses.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm wondering what sorts of challenges you have faced in conducting this sort of, and disseminating this sort of research.
Yeah, well, I think the challenges are primarily finding places to disseminate the work. There is not a huge audience for it. It's a very small circle. And so you have a lot of people trying to submit into this very small circle. I think mainstream journals and conferences and the typical places that you would see, they have a very small amount of diversity. And so I think it can be challenging to get into those locations in order for people to be able to see your work. And so you're actually are evaluated based on a set of parameters that actually don't fit what you do, right? The authors that I bring in are not the authors that, this is what we're supposed to be citing. I bring in different authors. And so it's those types of things that I think make it difficult when reviewing, looking at my work and trying to understand what my work is about.
So how might those specific challenges and then this conference affect your research moving forward? And what might you take out of these few days and bring with you that will inform your research?
Yeah, so for this particular conference, this is a kind of a side item for me, of which I brought the lens of anti-Black racism to. So I think, in terms of the challenges, I think the challenges are still there. I think that some access and opportunity has come through being connected. It's always good to know the people in power. So being connected with the people who organize the conference and who, have the access to journals, right? And so who are able to get special issues and invite people, so those give me, greater opportunities, as a part of being connected with this body. I think in terms of moving forward, I'm always listening. I'm always thinking about ideas. I think one of the thoughts that came to me yesterday, I guess it was yesterday, was this notion of white women's representation, right? So I talk about Black women's representation, but the fact that there's this white women's representation, which I saw as being very diverse in the ways that is represented, even though it is at the same time problematic. So there is this awareness, right, of white women, right, that exists, even though we know that it's problematic in the way that it exists. And so just really kind of thinking about that idea and, really using it as a means or a strategy for thinking and talking about the ways in which Black female bodies are not represented, one, not seen hardly, and then very sparsely represented in terms of the range And so that was kind of a thought that I'll probably will play with, as I've just looked at these very, very fine presentations, great information. And I'm thinking, wow, women of color don't even figure in there. We're not even important enough to get an honorable mention. Or women of color, are not existing in these spaces. So is there another group? Because really this becomes proxy. I'm talking about women of color, but it's really proxy for whatever your space is. So if your space isn't about Black women, because that's just not the oppressed group in my area, well, talk about your oppressed group, right? What are the ways in which that oppressed group is invisible and is not seen? We need to really, I think, complexify our ideas around this so that we can better be more inclusive, which is what I think this body is about. So that would be, and I think there's ways that I need to do that as well. It's not just an indictment for others. I think everyone is complicit. And so I have to think about the ways in which I also need to, open up. And so I think about Black transgender women. I don't talk about them. They don't figure in. But maybe there's something I should be doing because within our group, there is this subgroup, right? And so I think those are some of the things. It's the very same critiques that I throw out to others, the same ones I pull into myself, I'm throwing rocks from a glass house. I'll leave it there.
That's great. Thank you so much, Lisa.